She had agreed to work with a demon prince. She had not agreed to trust him. Those were two very different things. After the pit, he brought her to his chambers. Not a cell, not a holding room, his private quarters, the ones that looked out over the Shadow Court's capital, over the city that had been built on the bones of every war his father had ever won. He spread maps across the table. 20 years of planning laid out in the specific language of someone who had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. Takassia looked at the maps, then at him. "You have been planning this since before I was born," she said. "Yes." "And you needed me specifically." "Yes." She studied his face. The composed mask he wore in public was gone. What was underneath it was more dangerous, not because it was monstrous, but because it wasn't. He told her about his father. The king was dying. Not quickly, not visibly. But the power that sustained him was degrading, and the Cathep lords, the demon nobility who held the real power in the court, knew it. They were already positioning themselves for what came after. The genocide, he said, is not about humans. She had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed still landed like a fist. "It's a distraction," she said. "Yes, my father needs a war to maintain the coalition. Without a common enemy, the lords will turn on each other, and the first casualty of that conflict will be him. The genocide keeps them focused outward rather than inward." She thought about the numbers. The specific number of humans who would die if the genocide proceeded. The specific number who would die in the succession war that followed if it didn't. So stopping the genocide doesn't stop the problem. No, it removes the distraction, which means the lords turn on each other, which means a succession war that is worse than the genocide in terms of total casualties. She looked at him. Then what is the goal? To make the genocide unnecessary, to give the lords something more valuable than conflict. He paused. A demonstration of power sufficient to make them take a different option seriously. She already knew what he was going to say. The gem. Yes. The Crimson Karakat gem was the most powerful artifact in the Shadow Courts. It was also useless to anyone who didn't carry Cuthar blood, which meant it had been useless for 500 years. Until her. "You need me," she said. "Not the gem. Not what I can do. Me specifically." He was quiet for a moment. "Yes. Why?" "Because the gem responds to you. Because you have survived 3 days in my pit without breaking. Because you are the first person in 5 centuries who has looked at me as though I might be something other than what I appear to be." He paused. "And because I am out of options, and you are the only option that does not require me to become something I am not willing to become." She held his gaze. The bargain they were making was not a transaction. It was not the careful enumeration of terms she had expected. It was two people who had run out of alternatives deciding to trust each other, which was the most dangerous thing either of them could do. "All right," she said. "I am in." Something moved in his expression. Not the composed mask, not the almost smile. The actual face of the person he was, underneath everything he had built to protect it. "Thank you," he said. "Do not thank me yet. We have not done anything yet." "No," he agreed. "But we are going to." She had not expected to feel anything other than cold mission clarity when she agreed. She had been wrong. Standing in his chambers, looking at 20 years of planning laid out across a table, she